This is the workshop on steps 10, 11, and 12. And help me. Aquanetta's going to share first.
Hi, I'm Aquanetta, and I'm a grateful recovering addict. And first things first, I want to thank my higher power for this daily reprieve of not wanting to use drugs and not wanting to use anyone. And through the program of Narcotics Anonymous, not wanting to stand in one place and let somebody use me and get mad because I stood there in the first place. You know, and I'm real grateful today. I don't have to do those things. I want to thank the regional area for asking me to come and share my experience, strength, and hope. I'm always grateful and in awe when someone sees something in me that I don't see in myself. It's amazing. I started this journey July the 19th, 1996. So I've been here for some 24 hours, actually 18 years, 7 months, and 9 days. My predecessors taught me to count my days because this is the day that I want to stay clean and I don't want to use. And, I don't want to have to make no amends to anyone. So I do the best that I can. So this is a step meeting, step 10, 11, and 12. They gave me other steps. Today, I'm living in these steps, because this is what keeps me sane. But I need to talk about, the first 3 steps, which was my foundation in this program. The foundation that I needed to assure that I believed in something other than myself, because I thought I was God in many instances, I'm a mom of 8 children. I have 25 grandchildren. I've been married twice, so I always thought that I was in control of everything, and that set the foundation. Not the first 3 did not, because I didn't understand them, The second 3, I got it and understood, I've done countless of 1, 2, 3 since then, and I have a wonderful foundation that was based in New York City. My first 10 years of recovery was based in New York City, okay? And then, I felt that I could trust enough to write down this beautiful 4th step, the moral inventory, right, of myself, and to understand that it was about me, not someone else. And the second time, that's what I did. The first time, you don't even want to know what I had in it, okay? But the second time, and after that, their 4th, I knew it was about me, Now, I did that. But the 5th step, which isn't just a reading of the 4th step, I refused to say it verbally. So I took a long time before I would trust another human being to say it verbally, which was my sponsor. So I kind of rocked and rolled with that for a minute. But once I got past it, I realized that 6 and 7, which is the 2 closest steps out of the whole 12, I think it and I do it. Yeah, I was a thinker and a doer really easy, And I got to understand that the first 5 made me aware of what I no longer wanted in my life, right? And I wanted it removed, right? But I had to also understand that I didn't have the power to remove it. So the power that I believed in those other steps, right? I was able to ask him to please, remove all. I wanted everything removed. I was greedy. Everything I wanted was all. So anyway, it started removing some things, but I wanted to help some things along. So, I was stuck with them for a while, The 7th step was very crucial to me because I was always a person that acted out. I didn't know how to say something. I always had to do something, and I needed them to remove the shortcoming, because my shortcomings were very dangerous, and I could say it for me, but for anyone that was around me. As I was going through the steps and understanding these things, when I got to the 8th step, I willingly made the list. We had columns where I'm never going to put their name there, I might, right? And I will, And I was willing to put everybody's name there. I just put names. But the beautiful thing about this program is even today, sometimes I'll remember something and I'll write it in anything that I have, because they told me you don't close the 8-step list, it stays open. And I realized that if I did something to you one time, you better believe I did it 4 or 5. If you allowed me to get away once, I've done it many times to you. So I leave the names on the list. I don't cross it off like a grocery list or anything, right? The 9th step, they taught me that you do not go looking for amends. The amends will come when in due time. It will come to you. Don't go looking, And in my life, I've only have 3 amends that I definitely know was made. 3 only. Out of that list, okay? Mom, it's not that long, but I'm just, the list, right? And I've had 3 that came to me, and the most horrific one was running into the dope dealer that you robbed every time you had the opportunity, and you would steal his stuff, and run, and like the block that I lived on and where he lived, they were like enemies, but our block was more powerful. So I knew how to run to get close enough to my block where they would step out and he will halt. So he told me that whenever he seen me, he didn't care when, where, whatever, he was going to kill me. And I believed him. And I had I think 3 years clean, and I was in a meeting, and I went to the ladies' room, and for the first time it wasn't crowded, and I came to go out, and he was standing there. This big, sorry y'all, black man, mean. He was standing there, and I'm sorry, I'm getting chills, however, and through God's grace and mercy, right? Grace because he's given me what he's given me today, and mercy that he didn't give me what I really deserved, really, right? He was there supporting a cousin. He knew about recovery, and he looked at me and could see, the outside, and he said, hi, and I said, hi. Couldn't talk, was scared to death, right? And he said, you look good, just keep doing what you're doing. And see, those things show me that it worked. So see, when I'm getting to these 3 spiritual, because once I got to the 10th, went on to the 11th, on to the 12th, right? At this time, it was about me and my higher power. See, I did the 3, 4, and 5 that was about me. I did the 6 and 7 for the removal of me. I did the 8 and 9th, right, for outside of myself, because they had nothing to do with me. It was time for me to correct some things that I did in my life, right? The 10th, 11th, 12th was pertaining to understanding what my higher power has in store. And even if I don't understand, be willing and positioned for when he asks me, right? The 10th step is a beautiful step because before I did any steps, my predecessors told me, because they knew I was crazy. I was driving, and if you cut in front of me, I had some D batteries I would throw at you, at the car, ping. If you got too close and you tried to pass me and your window was open, I would throw my coffee in your car, right? And my predecessors, with their infinite wisdom, you can do the 10th step before you do any steps. So, like any other newcomer, I wanted to do a step. It didn't matter. It didn't matter what step, So when they told me that I can do the 10th step before I do any step, of course, I was happy, right? And I need to say that 10th step started to change in my life, because I understood that no matter what, I can stop at any given moment and start my day over with a prayer. I could stop for a moment, and that I can somewhat see myself coming, because the other steps showed me that you can see yourself coming, and you have choices and decisions. Like you can stop, or you can just do it anyway, with consequences, So the 10th step for me was learning how to practice, because this is a 2-part step. Learning how to practice the first part so I would never need the second part of the step, because it says that step 10 frees us from the wreckage of our present. So I needed something to keep me in the day, because I already knew all the dirty stuff and the crazy stuff I had did in the past, right? But I needed something to help me not bring it in the day, my present, and that's what the 10th step says in the basic text. Like it frees us from the wreckage of our present. If we do not stay aware of our defects, they can drive us into a corner that we can't get out clean. And when I came in this program, I weighed 78 pounds. I looked like Skeledora, and they told me that if you use again, you're going to go back to where you started, right? And my God, I was already a skeleton, so I didn't want to use. I was scared of using, right? This was my dilemma. I wasn't afraid of a human being. I didn't care how big you were, how small you were, what size you had, what gun you had, what knife you had. I didn't care, right? And I thought there was something wrong with me, and I had to understand that you don't have to be afraid of anyone at all, but you need to be afraid of the consequences. And when you think about the consequences, right? I didn't want to die. I didn't want to go to prison. I didn't want to do any of that. So I had to learn how to be aware. It says here, we are creatures of habit and are vulnerable to our old ways of thinking and reacting. At times, it seems easier to continue in the old rut of self-destruction than to attempt a new and seemingly dangerous route. It's dangerous because I've never done it. It's different, and I'll call it hard. And the predecessor said, stop saying hard and just say it's different. But when you say it's hard, you struggle with that, okay? And it says, we don't have to be trapped by our old patterns. Today, we have a choice. It helps us correct our living problems and prevent their reoccurrence. But I still have to do this on a daily basis. It's not like it happens once and it's over, What I love about the step it talks about, this step can be a defense against old insanity. We can ask ourselves if we're being drawn into old patterns of anger, resentments, or fear. We have something that we talk about, and we talk about it and we say, halt, right? I'm sure y'all heard of that, right? But basically, it's really halts. And the reason why I say that, it says here, the old patterns of anger, resentment, and fear. Do we feel trapped? Are we setting ourselves up for trouble? Are we too hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? Are we taking ourselves too serious? So for me, it's halts. Because any one of these things, if I stay in it long enough, right, I'm going to act out. I'm going to do something that's going to be detrimental, So the 10th step for me, and every time I say it's for me, it shows me what it says. It says the 10th step can be a pressure relief valve. We work this step while the day's ups and downs are still fresh in our mind. We list what we have done and try not to rationalize our actions, because I was a good rationalizer. I wouldn't have done that if you didn't do that. I wouldn't have done that if you didn't call me that name. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't have stole the eye drops, right, if I hadn't shopped here before and spent money because I think you owe me something. And I'm talking about that was recent. So anyway, exactly. So, ooh, man, when the higher power come through, some truth come out. Anyway, yeah. And then it says, this may be done in writing at the end of the day. The first thing we do is stop. Then we take the time to allow ourselves the privilege of thinking. Can you imagine today I have to have the privilege of thinking? When I thought that I could think anytime I wanted to. And today, for me to really be able to think is a privilege, because today I'm going to do the right thing 99.5% of the time. But I'm scared of that other 0.5%. I'm really terrified about that, So they say we work this step continuously. This is a preventive action. The more we work this step, the less we will need the correction part of the step. So that means, like, I don't need to wake up in a jail cell and say, oops. See, I can handle that at the moment, So I love the 10th step. All right, step 11 for me. It says it right here. The steps are in order for a reason. And it's over time. They told me that this is not a race, it's a pace. That this is not a destination, it's a journey, right? And for me not to focus on how long something's going to take in any given thing, right? For me to turn it over, which it starts with the 3rd step, where you're learning there's a power that's going to handle these things for me. And I need to learn how to turn it over and keep my hands off it, because my higher power does not play. You remember when you were a child and you would do this thing with each other, and you be having fun, and your brother, more than likely it was a brother or sister, and you wee, and they let go, and you hit that top part of your rump, right? That's how my higher power works for me, right? It doesn't do that with me. It immediately let me go, and it'll let me bust my butt. It's there, but like, I'm not gonna tussle with you. You turn it over to me, then you give it to me. If not, like, let me work on other things that I got, So for me, it's like that. But it says here, the first 10 steps have set the stage for us to improve our conscious contact with the God of our understanding. See, when I came here, when they set the God of our understanding, that's what they meant to me. I don't have to believe in what you believe in. I need to believe in something that works. Like that works. Now, today I have a faith outside of here, but I came here at 41. I acquired the faith at 56. See, nobody browbeated me or pushed me or however. So I have a beautiful blend of the higher power up in here and of the faith out there, and the blend is beautiful. Beautiful. All right, so it says, the first 10 steps set the stage for us to improve our conscious contact with the God of our understanding. They give us the foundation to achieve our long-sought positive goals. Having entered this phase of our spiritual program through practicing the previous 10 steps, most of us welcome the exercise of prayer and meditation. I lived in New York City. They told me to meditate to quiet your mind. How can you quiet your mind in New York City with the fire trucks, the ambulance, the police, and the shooting, and the cussing, and the arguing? And I would try, and it would frustrate me. It would frustrate me. And I felt like I would never have what the program offered to me. And then the predecessors, what they wisdom and infinite wisdom. When we do the circle and you say the serenity prayer, you are meditating Aquanetta. When you read your just for the day every day that we told you to do, you are meditating Aquanetta. And as they lovingly gave me these suggestions, right, I was able to go beyond, you see. Because I loved reading it. I loved to read, and I was able to read a little longer or sit a little quieter, even living down here, it's not really quiet. We have birds that chirp, and anyway, that's just my mess. But you have birds, and we have cat, or something, so it's never, for me, it's going to be deadly quiet, And then I have the little itty bitty committee up here that talks to me. Because, Aquanetta loves to talk to Aquanetta, Yeah, I did it today. So, so I love this, wow. It says that we need to be sure we have a system of belief that works for us. Results count in recovery. Our prayers seem to work as soon as we entered the program of Narcotics Anonymous and we surrendered to our disease. I remember they telling me when I did the second step, you've already gave God permission to work in your life. You already gave him permission. He's going to start doing what he does. So you can walk around it, go under it, go over it. It doesn't matter. You might as well go ahead and walk through. Because all you're doing is prolonging. You already gave him permission. See, I didn't know this. And I have to go back because the third step and the 11th step. The third step, I say, he tricked me. He tricked me. Because in the third step, it said, I don't have to be religious to do that step. And I was like, it's about time I don't have to be religious. I can do this step. He tricked me. He did. He tricked me. He got me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm so grateful for the tricks that he does for me, So I'm going to move on just a little bit. I didn't practice a lot of things outside of Narcotics Anonymous. Because when I came here, I was just sick of the God my mother pushed on me. And I was angry. I didn't want to hear it. Don't talk about it in the meetings. Don't say God is good all the time. All the time God is good. Y'all told me it was a spiritual program. So when y'all did it, I said, don't say it again. And when you said it again, I cussed out the whole meeting and offered y'all to come outside. Let's do this. So thank God that we can't be put out of meetings and that y'all rocked and rolled with me. I'm so grateful. So if you're newer than myself, or if you knew, right, we don't have the power to put you out of a meeting. We don't. The establishment that we're in, they can. right? But no one can put you out of an NA meeting but yourself. So please don't do that, okay? All right, let me move on, because the 12-step is not bad. All right, to become willing to let other people be who they are without having to pass judgment on them. And the urgency to take care of things isn't there anymore. We couldn't comprehend acceptance in the beginning, but today we can. You know, having 8 children, having sponsees, right? To learn how to allow them to be who they are, to allow them to bump their heads even though it's painful, right? I never thought I would be there, but I am today. I struggle with it. You know, it says when we first came to the program, we usually asked a lot of things that seem to be important, wants and needs. You know, as we grow spiritually and find a power greater than ourselves, we begin to realize that as long as our spiritual needs are met, our living problems are reduced to a point of comfort. I'm living in that comfort today. You know, I'm living as a newcomer today. You know, I remembered carrying the message is the thing. And this is what I'm here to do, which is the 12th step. It's to carry the message, not my mess. It's to share my experience, strength, and hope, and not my theories, and not what my sponsor said happened to her, or you say what happened to you. And so I'm going to share this tidbit. I don't know if my time is up yet or what. How much time do I have, please? Anyway, they told me that one day, Aquanetta, maybe you still hear this, it's going to be a time where it's only going to be you and your higher power. There's going to come a time when it's only you and your higher power, right? I've done countless of conventions. I've got people in my life from day one, and I'm trying to figure this out. Brain power problem, you know. How am I ever going to be alone? I'm not ever going to be alone, you know. And in 2009, an incident happened to me. And in 2010, when they put the cuffs on me, and they locked me away in the federal prison for 2 years with 14 years clean, right? I got it, right? For me, it's so very important to do the program for you, not anyone else, you know, for you. Because by doing this program, I understood that all that stuff I did in the 70s that they didn't catch me for, I would still be in prison over, right? He gave me a reprieve. You say you accept me, you say it's my will, you don't want to do what I'm asking you to do, you still want it your way. I'm going to sit you down in a place and a time, and time just stopped, where it's just me and you. And that's what happened. I went in October the 4th, 2010, and I came out January 2012. And I went to the halfway house until 2012 in May. And I am so grateful and so blessed. You know, I've been homeless. See, the literature and what it's talking about, it happens. Destituted, homeless. Not that it'll happen to any one of you, but it happened to me. So I know what it's saying is real. And then he gave me a beautiful 1-bedroom mansion, because that's my 1-bedroom mansion, right? And the peace that he gave me with it, the peace that he bestowed on me that I have today, right? With really no income, things like that, you know, but it's okay. It's okay. Because I'm willing today to wait to see what he wants for me. I can't live other people's lives. I can't promise you anything. I can just do what I do a day at a time and not cause you harm or you harm or you harm, and to continue to carry the message. I don't talk about that process I just told y'all about. People don't understand it. In my home groups where I'm at, they're expecting me to talk about that all the time, right? But it's funny how certain parts come to me, because it was horrendous. It was scary. I was so scared. I was so afraid. But if it wasn't for me understanding, the 10th step to me is so powerful because it talks about, right, when you're wrong, promptly admit it, right? I never forget standing there and the lawyer had told me to put it on my clients. He told me specifically what to say to the judge so I can get out, right? But when the judge asked me the question, I couldn't lie. I couldn't lie. You know, my part in things. I had to accept my part in things because no matter what happens to me today, I play a part. It can be positive, it can be negative, but I played some kind of part in it, right? And for the first time in my life, I was able to not lie. And, you know, start off with 40 years to life. 47 years. 36 months to 47 months. And to have her cut it in half to 24 months. If that's not God, if that's not a blessing, you know what can I say? You know, like I'm real grateful. I'm grateful to be here. I struggle. I really, really struggle. You know, to carry the message in the 12-step working guide, the 12-step, it talks about it. Can you carry a message when you have an ungrateful sponsee that just won't follow your instructions no matter what you say? Can you sponsor them anyway? Without thinking you're God and they have to do it your way. Do you think that they wouldn't stay clean or have the clean time if it wasn't for you? You see, so it's telling me that, right, this is not mine, this is God's. I'm not God. I never was and I never will be. You know, the most painful thing in my life, and it says relationships can be the most painful area, right? But the key word is it can be, it doesn't have to be. So see, the man that I loved married another woman while I was in prison, you know. And then I come back out and they're still expecting me to go from being the wife to being a mistress now, things like that. Can I stand as a woman and not have that insecurity to think that he's God? That's one of the reasons God sat me down. You thought your husband was God. You thought the boyfriends was God. You always thought a man was God. You always God. Everything was God except me. So today, as a woman that'll be 60 in 2 months, God is so good. Wow. I'm single. I do not want to mingle. That's amazing. Y'all should have seen me in the 70s, baby. That's amazing. That is amazing. And I do not, you know, and when I get lonely, I say a prayer. And I ask him to remove the feeling that I'm feeling. And if I sit still for a couple of seconds, he literally removes it, you know. So for me, the 10th and 11th and 12th step is a spiritual state, you know, and it's my spiritual maintenance, you know. But you got to understand that I still don't have it. Some days I have rough days, you know. I just don't use no matter what. I come to a meeting. I keep newcomers in my life. I have newcomers for 27 days and things like that. I keep them in my life, but I don't try to control their lives. You see, I have sponsors who've been with me for a long time. You know, I have a sponsor that has a sponsor, and I just getting ready to meet my great-great-grand sponsor, and I've never had that in my recovery before. You know, so doors are still opening, you know. The ones that's closing is opening other things for me. And like, I just got to say, I'm a grateful addict. And my predecessor said, if you're a grateful addict, you won't use Aquanetta. You just don't pick it up. You can't get high, you know. And then I used it as, just don't pick up the phone and dial him for the booty call, and you won't get hurt, you know. Like stand or fall for something, you know. So, like, I'm grateful. To carry the message to me, it's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing, you know. And it's how you carry it. It's how you carry it. It always will be. You have to ask yourself, why am I sharing this? For what reason? Is it to make me feel better? Or is it to try to help someone else just like me? So just for today, if you woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning, You got more clean time than I had just for the day, because I didn't get up until 7:30. You know, and like that's about all I have right now. And I love you guys, each and every one of you. I don't have to know your social security number. I ain't got to know your maiden name. I ain't got to know none of that. But if it wasn't for you, there would be no me. And like, I thank y'all, and I love y'all. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Thank you for sharing.
How do, folks? I'm that addict named Will.
I will.
Man, there's a reason I say I am that addict. It's not to be unique. But like I say, my first name is Will, and if you can just imagine how many Williams, Willies, Bills, Billies, it goes on and on. And most of them, a lot of them got the last name J. So I just say I'm that addict named Will. So won't nobody else get blamed for something I say. Okay? Because that was my thing. If it was something that I knew I did wrong, and it was somebody else close by, it was their fault. It was not mine. And I was one of those hard-headed people. It took me a while to understand what honesty was. It took me a while to get willing, and it took me a longer time to get that self-acceptance. Because I loved the lifestyle that I had lived for so long. The step process gave me the understanding from a good sponsor, a good grand sponsor, and the support group that stood with them, not behind them, not beside them. It stood with them to get me out of this thing up here, because it is not my friend. The CEO up here disguises everything that goes through it. Makes me think I'm right all the time. And nobody else can be right if I am. But touching on the first 3 steps, I had to change all of my beliefs. Every last one of them. Getting honest with me, that was the hard part. Because I had lied for so long, everything come out of my mouth. You know, if my lips was moving, you was getting ripped off. It's just that simple. And step 2, being restored to sanity. When I finally woke up one day and found out that I was in a recovery program and I didn't have the desire to use, but I'm still directing traffic on the other side of the damn door, that was a miracle for me to take a look at that. Step 3, when I found out that I was powerless over my addiction, it was like, I wonder who told him to tell me that. You know? But I finally surrendered after about 2.5 years in recovery. Writing steps, sharing like Shakespeare, and lying like a snake. Fork tongue thing, you know. But when I finally was able to understand that recovery had come to me, you know, I didn't go looking for it. Recovery had come to me by watching the people that would not give up on me. And, you know, I love those people dearly today. And before I go any further, I'd like to thank all of y'all for being here, because it's for my recovery as well as your own. And, you know, today I know there is a God, because who else would allow an imperfect messenger to carry a perfect message?
Wow.
So today, just for today, the 10th step for me, we continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. It took me damn near 5 years to get to that point, because I had manipulated myself for so long. So you know, a lot of other people got hurt in the process. The chaos was never ending. One day I found out that my higher power had a sense of humor. All the stuff that I had collected, Rolodex and credit card and a few other illegal, insane, and immoral things, stuffed down in the basement. The water main broke outside my house and it was gone, just like that. Next thing I knew, when we got the basement in, the new furnace put in and everything, here comes the landlord. Hey, we sold the house. You got 15 days to move. Whoa. What am I going to do about this? furniture and storage, moved in with my daughters, paying rent in 2 places. And if that wasn't enough, I had to turn in my rides.
Come on now.
Brand new Blazer, and a fairly new van.
Come on now.
Y'all come get this shit. I can't pay for it no more, you know. Excuse me, and that's what brought me to the fact that if I didn't get honest, I was going to stay on my knees the rest of my life. But when I finally got up off my knees, I understood there was a power greater than me. And if I stopped thinking and started listening,
Wow.
I'm going to be all right. It took me a while to earn the privilege of listening. Because I was always running my mouth because of this thing up here. It is not my friend. You're going to hear me say that quite often. But it says here, the 10th step can help us correct our living problems and prevent their recurrence. I don't have to tell y'all about the consequences and the insanity of being in active addiction.
Wow.
And not getting caught. That means if I didn't get caught, I could bust another move.
Come on now.
If I don't get caught, I can keep doing what I'm doing. But I forgot that the only person that could catch me was me. And my higher power, like I said, he had a sense of humor. When I caught me, when I looked up, all I could see was the bottom of my own feet. So I had to start paying attention to what my sponsor was telling me. Be aware of where you are today. Understand why you're here. The old things ain't gonna work no more.
Okay.
You gotta change. And he beat that word change into me like, if you don't change, you might as well go on back out there and I'll buy the first one. And that kind of struck me as funny because my sponsor got all these years and he gonna buy me one. But he said, if I do that, you have to work. When you come back, you're going to be on your own. And I love this guy so much, I'm going to give it another try, right? And it worked. I realized that looking at me, instead of looking at somebody else and blaming them for the consequences that I had to suffer, and they suffered too, many of them, was just not a good way to live because I couldn't stop looking over my shoulder. I couldn't stop trying to figure out where I'm going to get this next rent payment from. And I had a job, working for General Motors. Best job in the world. But the money was going to the wrong place. You know? So when I got to step 10 and I really got to sit down with my sponsor on step 10, he said, look at where you've been and change so you can get to where you got to go. He kept it simple. My experience, strength, and hope with step 10 is change. Look at yesterday and use it as a stepping stone to stay out of that muck today. Step 10 is very simple. It's one of the shortest steps in the basic text. But the information in it is very, very profound. It lets me know that I'm still vulnerable to old behavior. It lets me know that if I don't check in with my spirit every day, thank my higher power in the morning, thank him when I go to bed, and pray to understand his will for me today. And know that it's his will that's not mine that's going to keep me clean today. Step 10 is living just for today. In my life, I don't know about anybody else. I can't tell nobody else to look at yourself and change that. I don't know what goes on in your heart or in your head. I can say, well, you might want to take a look at this because that action is not in line with the process of recovery. You know, and if they cuss me out, well, that's okay too. If they follow the suggestion, that's okay too. But I know that for me, step 10 was for me to find the God inside of me, not look for it in somebody else. And when I look out and see addicts, and you know that saying they got, so when I look at other addicts, sometimes I can see myself. I still do that to this day. And I've been here a few 24s. As a matter of fact, March the 2nd, we will be celebrating 11 years.
Okay, now.
And for me to go that long, the addict that I was without using people, places, and things is truly a miracle. And I know it's God's will, not mine. So there's not much I can say about the 10th step because it's just letting me know that I have to look at me on a daily basis. I have to be grateful on a daily basis. I have to understand that change is very important in my life on a daily basis because the CEO up here, he's a bad mamma jamma. He does not allow me to take breaks. Not in my spiritual condition. I have to maintain that spiritual condition. Because if I don't, something bad gonna happen. And I was blessed with a grand sponsor who was instrumental in writing Step 11. And that's my favorite step out of all of them. But I know I have to appreciate all of them to stay where I am today. Because if it wasn't for the first 3, I wouldn't be here. If it wasn't for 4 and 5, I would have never gotten honest. 6 and 7, I'd still been blaming people in 6 and Step 6. Step 7, I'd still be out there trying to run stuff and living that double life. Reservation, you can do this and I'm gonna do that. You ought to do this, I'm gonna do this. That's crazy. So when I looked at my character defects, and when they shared that they had columns, that's what my sponsor had, columns. On one page, he had 3 columns, and I'd be damned if he didn't fill every last one of them up. And I had to look at that. And then some of them he wrote down twice, because that was my thinking, But having a great sponsor and a great grand sponsor, where if you ran up in their face talking about something somebody else did, they'd look at you and say, well, what was your part in it?
That's right. Oops.
It's just that, what was your part in it? And like one of my buddies, I have to laugh, when he told me about Step 6, I asked him for his experience, strength, and hope. He looked at me and said, well, that's what a rubber hits the road, and walked away. That's all he said, and walked away. It took me a while to figure that out.
I love it.
It's real.
And it's just the things that made me look at myself that they taught me through their experience, strength, and hope. Made me look at myself a different way. I was no longer Slick Willie. I was no longer the man, I was just working hard to be humble as a recovering addict. And that's still hard for me today. Because this thing up here never stops. It don't give me no breaks. And when I found out that my 11th step was the one that keeps me moving in the right direction, because I know that it's God's will, not mine, it's amazing. There is so much information in this 11th step that I would be remiss if I tried to tell you all of it. I mean, it's one of the longest steps in here. And my grand sponsor, like I say, he passed away some years ago, but he was instrumental in writing this step. And what I like about it, most important, it says we find ourselves praying because it brings us peace and restores our confidence and courage. It helps us live a life that is free, fear, and distrust. When we remove our selfish motives and pray for guidance, we find feelings of peace and serenity. And when I tell y'all it took me a while to find that, I can tell you today I'm at peace with Will, and I really don't care about what other people do. It's not my business anymore. I don't have to blame them for what they do, because all I have to do is take responsibility for what I do. I have to take a real good look at what I do. If I see another addict that I'm sponsoring or that I'm close to doing something out of left field, I'll mention it to him and move on. I can't correct him. I can't tell him how to live. You know, the 11th step, it is so deep. It lets me know that if I look for the God inside of me on a spiritually grounded basis, I will never have to lie again, I will never have to use again, and I will always have a deep understanding of what my higher power has done for me through the fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous, the steps, the honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness, understanding that His will for me is my own true will for myself. I don't want to keep living like the dog out there that I was, peeping and hiding, you know, busting moves, causing people great harm. That's not the way to live for me anymore. If people still out there doing it, and they can have it. I don't want no more of that. I have enough. The 11th step, it's like the aftermath of step 10. But once you get past step 10, you have a better understanding of why there is a higher power. And when you get to the 11th step, you understand that the higher power that you thought was still is, but it's a deeper level now in the 11th step. Because for me, we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. To me, that is nothing more than a very powerful third step surrender. It's a recap of the third step, but it's stated differently because when we get past other steps and get to step 11, everything in my life was on a deeper level. Every time I work a step, it's on a deeper level. Better understanding of myself leads to a better understanding of my higher power's will for me. A better understanding of my higher power's will for me allows me to understand that I can't run nobody else's life. It lets me understand that the more I stay in conscious contact with my higher power, the better my day is going to be. You notice I didn't say my life, I said my day. Because step 10 tells us we live a day at a time. All the steps tell us that we live a day at a time, just for today. So if I go looking off into the future, or looking too long at the past, I'm going to stop right in the middle and be stagnated. And this thing up here going to go to work. It's not waiting out in the parking lot. It's not sitting around the corner. It's sitting right here in this chair with me. Trying to get me to say something to make you laugh or say something profound like I know everything. I will never know everything about these steps. I will never know everything about how to live these steps. It's a learning process on a daily basis for me today. And that's why I come to the spiritual awakening. Wow. That day I woke up and found out that I didn't need to use drugs no more, that I was at peace with will, and that if somebody else did something to me, as long as they didn't put their hands on me, they could say what they want to. I'm glad you see it that way. Okay, thank you. And allow them to walk away. Whereas in the past, it would have been held in creation. But through this step process, I am able to understand one thing, and that is that I'm powerless over what other people do. If they don't like me, they got a right to say it. If I don't like them, I can keep it to myself or discuss it, as long as it don't bring out a resentment. The spiritual awakening is carrying the message of Narcotics Anonymous to the addict who still suffers, and being willing to be of service to any addict who's seeking recovery. That's the short version. Like I say, there is just too much information in these steps, too many spiritual principles in these steps for us to try to understand them and explain them all today. It takes a lifetime, folks. That's just that we were sure that it was God's will for us to use drugs to reach a higher consciousness. I don't know where that lie came from, but I used to believe it.
Right.
I was stuck on stupid for a long time with that one. So when I did my thing, it was like, don't bother me. Leave me alone. Go get your own. None of that. Leave me, just let me be. Now I'm the most intelligent person on earth. And I don't need you to interrupt my thoughts. Not knowing what a thought was at the time. We gain the ability to do what we once could not. We respect the belief of others. We encourage you to seek strength and guidance according to your beliefs. That's where I live today. That's my 10th, 11th, and 12th step. Allowing other people to be where they're at. Allowing myself to understand what humility really means. I know for a fact that self-loathing and humility cannot live in the same place. It's just that simple for me. My experience, strength, and hope in living these 3 steps has given me that peace I was out there hunting for 40 years on the street, trying to run things. I can remember using when I was 15 or 16. I didn't come back off that street till I was in the 50s. But that's a lot of stuff that I had to unlearn. That's why I said at first I had to change everything about any belief that I had, to include my education. I used to think that what I learned in school was a lie, because it just didn't come out right somehow. Because if somebody did this, somebody else was going to do that. If somebody else did something different, they all was crazy to me, because I really just didn't care what they was doing as long as I got what I wanted when I wanted it. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but that's just the way it was with me. Enjoying this life of recovery is the most important move I ever made. When I surrendered to the disease of addiction and got in touch with that power greater than myself, went to meetings, got a sponsor, started living this program. And you can write steps all you want to, but if you don't live this program, your chances of staying clean or being spiritually connected are very slim. My sponsor always tells me after we work a step, well, don't write nothing, just take a break. Practice what you just learned. And they always tell me that the steps are progressive just as well as they are retroactive, regressive. In other words, I have to look at the step I just finished before I go to another step to make sure that the changes are in place and the courage to work this other step is there. It takes courage for me to work these steps, because I have something different to look at every day. So a spiritual awakening for me is not just service work. It's working on me. It's not just carrying a message. It's looking to help other people who seek help. It's amazing. This program is amazing. But to sit here and keep talking about how great this program is to me and for me, I'd rather go bear hunting with a switch. But it's just that great to me, y'all. I'm telling you. I could read from this book and bore you, and I could read from this book and give you some profound information, but I cannot live it for you. I cannot live it for you. It's not our job to figure out who's going to make it and who's not. Any addict has unconditional acceptance in this program. That's one of the things that we have to do, accept any addict in here unconditionally, so they can share their experience, strength, and hope, or their pain. It doesn't say we have to love them. It doesn't say we have to like them. but it says we have to accept them unconditionally in the program of Narcotics Anonymous because we all have the same disease called addiction. Not to mention the insanity, immorally. Yeah. I don't try to intellectualize this program, prophesize this program, or dramatize this program. I try to live it, I practice rather, living it very humbly on a daily basis. Because if I go up to this thing up here and my ego attacks me, I hope I'm dead broke. So I can stay humble without trying to bust no move. I'm still sick, but I work every day and practice real hard to stay in contact with the spirit that's inside of me, given to me by the program of Narcotics Anonymous from my higher power through you people.
Right.
It's amazing how somebody caring about another person can change lives. I can't tell you any better than that. I don't want to keep running my mouth because I don't know how much time we got, so go for it.
Thanks.
Thanks for letting me share.
I'm an addict called Jason.
Hi, Jason.
I'm grateful to be here and be clean. This is my least favorite thing in the world to do. I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that I feel inadequate. You know, that and I know that that's part of my disease. You know, my disease wants me to feel inadequate. And when I tell on that, I can get out of the problem and in the solution. You know, I have some experience with these steps, and it might help somebody. You know, somebody might get something out of it, and that's worth saying. You know, my experience was I wanted, you know, I asked my sponsor, I said, how are we going to do this? He says, how you want to do this? And I said, well, I'd like for you to get some dust and sprinkle it on my head, and I'd like it to happen. And I did. And so we talked for a while, and we got to know each other. Sponsor learned that I needed some explicit instructions. That I didn't need to run on self-will because it was very evident that I can do that pretty good. And I think when I say pretty good, I mean it's automatic. It's automatic for me to do it my way. And I needed to have some instructions. And I think like everybody else, it's hard to talk about the 10th step without talking about the first 9. You know, and to keep it just as short as possible, right? Like Will was talking about, it's hard. But I had to practice honesty and acceptance in the first step until it stopped hurting. I had to be honest until I was no longer telling on a lie. You know, my sponsor made me read first, 30 days in a row. If I messed up, I had to start over. And I probably didn't do that on the first step because I couldn't be honest yet. You know, I was still practicing these things. But as I worked the first step, and I did surrender, and I surrendered to the program of NA, there was that rising sense of hope, and I got to practice that in my second step. And he told me I needed to listen. That's how I was going to get my hope. I had to hear other people's experience. And I would come to believe. I would eventually wake up from the knockout punch that my active addiction had given me, and I could shake off, you know, the fuzzy head, and I could, you know, come to believe, you know. And I had to have faith in my third step, and I had to practice that. You know, that was like, I had to make that decision to turn my will over. I had to learn what my will was. That's what I want. That's what my will is. That's what I want in my life. That's everything that goes along with Jason. I had to turn that over to my higher power and practice faith, you know, because that's what it was. And when I figured that out and I learned it, Then I had to practice courage. And like you were saying, I had to be honest in my 4-step. And not just be honest with the paper, but I had to be honest with myself. And really look at that stuff. I think the hardest thing about my 4-step was writing about my assets. Hardest thing I ever did. I couldn't find a damn thing good about me. Had to ask somebody else. And then a 5th step, I had to practice integrity. Doing what I say and saying what I do. 6th step, willingness. Prayed for willingness. Let God do something for me. And like, that's where the rubber met the road, like you said. And that's what everybody, I mean, maybe I thought it was my part of the state, maybe it's the way everybody, you're right where you're supposed to be, all that stuff. I remember calling one of my more religious friends and asking them to pray for me right now. I want you to pray for me right now. I'm going to cry and you're going to pray. But I had to get humble too in 7. You know, I had to realize that I had a flat tire and I didn't need to drive on it.
Wow. I like that.
You know,
I like that.
I had to be humble. And I try to stay humble. I guess that's humility. You're trying to stay humble. You know? And justice. I ain't know what the hell. I said, justice? How's justice a spiritual principle? Well, you got to be willing to give some. Not to yourself, to somebody else. Write it down. Who you owe amends to. You know, it's not easy. And then self-discipline and judgment. Yeah, I have to have the self-discipline, like you said, when I see that person, to say, you're on the list. And I'd use my better judgment. Like, hey, is this guy going to take me out? Okay. Or not? Yeah, I need a sponsor for all of this. And then 10, perseverance and open-mindedness. I still need my sponsor. I believe open-mindedness early on was I had to give somebody the right to tell me I was wrong. I had to say, look, dude, this is what's going on. A lot of people have sponsored me not knowing, unknowingly. I had a sponsor. I told them. It didn't tell me what I wanted to hear, so I talked to somebody else. You know, and the thing is like God shows up. God shows up in this fellowship. So I get to do that. I get to practice open-mindedness in my 10th step. I get to say, hey, this is what I did today. And I can do it simply, or I can do it, you know, straight up. I got a 6-step list that I keep with me. You know what I mean? Y'all ever had one of those? Was I fearful today? Did I lust today? Am I angry? I'm not talking about nobody else. I'm talking about me. That's my 10th step. It ain't nobody else's. Was I jealous today? Envious? Did I worry about other people, what other people thought of me? Was I thinking too highly of myself? Was I dishonest? Did I try to control and manipulate somebody else? Just going right through the list. You know, was I lazy? Yes. Yes, I struggle with that. The bigger I get, the more lazy I get. Judgmental. Did I struggle with self-pity today? Like I said, I did a little bit just a while ago. You know, I still had to turn that stuff over, and not because I keep doing it. You know, that's the thing about a defect: self-centeredness, self-righteousness. You know, did I do those today? Then I have to ask myself, was I good today? Did I help somebody today? Did I love somebody today? Did I take care of my bills, my kids, my wife? Did I answer the phone today? Did I call somebody back today? And that's kind of like that other side of that 4th step that was real hard to do early on, right about the good stuff. I kind of had to I had to look at that, and today I don't write all of it. I had to, kind of like the reading for 30 days. It was one of those things, you're going to have to write all this out. That was part of the perseverance of that 10th step. I had to do it. But it's like all those other principles I was listening, until I had done those things, I could not get to an 11th step and sought. I could not seek without those other principles, without perseverance, without open-mindedness, without humility and honesty, acceptance. I couldn't do it. And I had to have that open-mindedness. I had to have sponsor to say, hey, every morning, what time do you get up? Well, I got to get one kid up 5:30. Okay, well, you're going to get up at 4:45 and you're going to pray. Just like you did back when you was on the 2nd step. You're going to pray. Some explicit instructions. I needed somebody to tell me how to work the 11th step. You're going to pray. You're going to be quiet. You might need to do it at lunch if you can. If you can't, before bed. You're not going to get none for a month, dude. Let her go to bed.
Come on now.
Leave it alone. Go find a quiet place. Sit down and pray. That was and I had to look, the awareness. That was the principle in 11. I had to look at the awareness of God in me and other people, in the steps, in the fellowship. That helped me more in service than anything else, was finding God in service. And you know what? It really showed me that there's a lot of people don't have God except service. Service is their God.
Wow.
It was me for a minute.
Wow.
It was me for a minute. I'm just being real as I can be. But anyway, so step 12, I had to learn what is unconditional love, and how do you do it. And Lord, don't just because I was carrying the H&I message with 90 days clean, don't mean I was carrying the message. Okay. Because, we let people carry the message when they get clean. Hey, NA works. Look, I come straight off the street. I'm talking about practicing real principles, unconditional love. Don't try that shit. Don't try it unless you have done these other principles. Just think about how bad we can hurt other people, trying to love them. Like you said. Hey, I sat down to do a 2nd step with Sponsy the other day. He said, how come you just can't hear my answer, man? Why is my answer not good enough? I got to go to the bathroom. Went to the bathroom, come back, said, we got to be done. I said, it's okay. We can be done. It's okay. Earlier, don't listen to me, Paul. Earlier, I might have said, dude, yeah, you got it wrong. You don't get it. You're going to have to get it. Beat it in his head. But it wasn't right. It wasn't the time. He had to go, and it was over. And we'll get to it later. It's okay. But that was as unconditional as I could do at the moment. Like another spiritual principle of the 12th step is tolerance. Do we just want to come in and get honest, open-minded, willing, and start tolerating the world? No. I don't want to tolerate my daughter's boyfriend. I do not want to tolerate my wife's attitude. I'm just talking about the outside stuff outside of me. But if I'm going to carry a message, I'm going to tolerate some stuff. If I'm going to carry the message myself, not just a message, but the message, I'm going to have to live it. And that means I'm going to have to set aside my wants, desires, and needs, and just be there. And hey, I ain't gonna kid you, it ain't easy, and we don't get it right all the time. And then, of course, there's selfless service. That's in the 12th step. Selfless service, not that service I was talking about. Not that, hey, I'll sit on your panel. I'm gonna share good. I can relate. I know half the people in there, but But yes, I will sponsor you. No, I've got too many sponsees. Yes, I'll listen to you rant about what somebody else is doing at their meeting. Yeah, I'll listen to you, you know. Yeah, I will try not to have an opinion today, just for you. No, I mean it. Hardest shit I ever had to do. But I guarantee it's the best shit I ever did.
That's right.
Right. Well, I tell you, I wouldn't give anything for this fellowship, you know. Like just the ability to sit here and tell y'all that you know, it's great to have another day clean is a miracle to me. Best decision I ever made was come to terms that me being an addict was going to save my life, not end it. You know.
Wow.
That me saying I'm an addict meant I didn't ever have to use again. You know. How do you get that across to people that's coming out of here, there, the other, get put in our meetings, and they're told, you got to say you're an addict or you can't talk.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, you ain't got to say you're an addict till you believe in your heart.
That's right.
That's when it's going to change it.
That's right.
I compare it, and we all compare it, I guess. You know, as I've heard a lot of, I've done it a lot. Anyway, you know, God bless y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.